So what's going on here in this dream, every minute of it, every second, is trying to get to life, to aliveness. And that, again, that's the dream. I mean, that's the rules of the game. That's how it's set up. That's just what it is. Pretty simple, you know. Okay, well, throw a person in the middle of this world. Person is me. And every person is me. And me is trying to get to aliveness. Because me is cut off from aliveness. That's the separation. That's what happens every time you have an entity, separate, independent, perceiving life as a separate condition. That's what me is. That's what a person is. The self-conscious experience. I could say self-conscious being, but that's apparent. It seems like a being. That's part of the self-consciousness. It's not a being, it's not anything, but it is an appearance of a being, self-conscious as me, in a world. What I call a world. There's no name for it. You could call it anything, but world is what we like. So that's the experience. This separate one I call me, and I have knowledge. I have what I call a mind, which is really just kind of this moving quality of thinking, thoughts appearing that I identify. There's an identity with the thoughts, so there's a kind of subject-object structure of me thinking my thoughts and me doing my actions and me receiving actions from others in the world, receiving, actions from the world, whatever. The rain is falling on me. So it's this structure of being separate, subject and an object. And then the one in the middle of it, the me, again, it's the sense of being a center of activity. That's also part of it. And there's a motivation, a goal, a storyline to it all, which is I'm trying to reach what I just said, aliveness. It's as good a word as any. Trying to get connected with life. Because the feeling, there's a feeling that goes along with all this too, right? The sense of being a separate consciousness, a separate being, also feels cut off from the source, from life. I'm just using these sort of dualistic words, whatever. We need some kind of word. Cut off. We don't need to cut off from what? It's not really cut off from anything, but it's just feeling cut off. Feeling disconnected from, let's say, life. Just use that word. Again, I could say disconnected from myself, disconnected from God, disconnected from the universe, disconnected from the universal spaghetti, right? But it's disconnected, and so that's the storyline of all the stories, is getting connected, reaching the goal of connection. And of course it gets interpreted in all the ways in the story. It seems like, well, I'm just trying to get lunch, I'm just trying to get this girl to like me and go home with me, or whatever it is. I'm just trying to get that house, trying to get the job, trying to get save the planet, get world harmony, all these, there's an infinite number of items on the agenda, right? And it's going to be different all the time and different for different people, but these are all a moment of trying to trying to get back home, in the old Joseph Campbell, mythology of things. All the myths are about trying to get home. Again, home is just an image, but trying to get what was taken away when I became separate. Trying to heal the break, heal the wound, heal the separation. Okay. So they're every activity, every dream, every hope is all about healing the separation. This is the story of me. Now, that's also all of the religions, all of the psychological therapies, all of the scientific, technological dreams, all of everything, politics, whatever. It's another moment of trying to solve the dilemma, the separation, the condition of being a person, separate. So there aren't any solutions. There is no solution to that separation. That's the rub. That's what you come to see in a way when you come to a video like this. Most people won't be interested in that because they're busy with finding the solution. They're occupied with getting the job done, getting the solution, because the mind is convinced, in a sense. That's what the quality of the mind is, that it's looking for the answer, seeing everything as a question, everything as this problem to be solved. And so it's the machine that goes and looks for the answer. So most people, so-called people, are occupied with that search for the answer in whatever, however they are conceiving it, however it's appearing in that particular subjectivity. Maybe it's having a six-pack of Amstel or whatever, or maybe it's working on, the solution to global warming. But there is no solution to this issue, to this separation. It's the point. So when you see that, or you have an intuition of it, then you may start to be interested in a video like this. Because what I'm talking about is just, and again, this isn't something that can be communicated or understood, because the separate one and the separate world can't make anything out of it. Language can't make anything out of it. Language is already separate. The one is already separate. The world is already separate. So that's a story, that's already in force. It's already up on the screen. But it's just a funny quirk of things that, again, the mystery, we don't know. But you might be having an intuition or having somehow come to see, quote unquote, see, that there isn't a solution to this me dilemma. And that maybe the me actually doesn't exist, was never happening. That whole story isn't real. There's nothing to it. There's no life in it. There's nothing in it. There's just what is, which already is. It's not in this, doesn't have anything to do with the story. The story is not involved in it. All the stories are intricately related to each other inside of their own, bubble of story. So, meanwhile, the life that's being looked for was always here, already here. Everything that's being looked for in all the billions of stories, and again, every story is about looking for the life, to connect with what has been, to reconnect. That disconnection, well, not reconnect, but in the story there's a disconnect, so it seems like, well, I need to reconnect again. It's just the way it plays out. But there is no reconnection. There is no finding of anything. There's no dropping of the me. There's no anything, because that story never gets up off the ground. The story has always been just this. Always is just this. All the stories going on right now are just this. You go behind the curtain and see how the stories are being, projected from just this, as what is. But it's the living existence, again, not existence, but it's the life that's being looked for in the story. It's always in plain sight, been hiding in plain sight, you could say. The story is nothing but this, pure this. Every speck of it is just this. So the one looking for this inside of the story is a story character, and it's playing out the story, which is to look for itself, to look for the life that everything already is. Again, I'm using this word life. It's dualistic because it sounds like one half of life and death scene, but I don't mean it that way. I'll say aliveness. That's a cliche, so I don't know, I avoid it, but it doesn't matter. Everything's a cliche. But what's being looked for by all the characters, every character you've ever imagined, all the characters in the history books, all the characters in the movies, all the characters on the block. Right now, this movie seems to be playing. People seem to be looking for things. Life seems to be happening. Wins and losses, fortunes and bankruptcies, right? Healing, illness. It's all part of a dream of connection, of getting connected. And there only is this, never unconnected, never being born, never dying, never, the story's never been told. That's what is. But not what is as a story. Even when we hear the word what is, or the phrase, we think, oh, it's what is. Oh, it's that. Draw a little picture of it in the mind. No, What is that has never been seen, never been told, never been known. Unknowing. The what is that's not known. That's what it is.